Hi everyone, and thanks for being with me. Fatima, or Senator Fatima Payman, I should say, has decided to cross the line with regard to voting with the Greens with regard to a motion they put forward to the Senate relating to the recognition of Palestine as a state. And as a result of this, she's kind of got herself into what would appear to be a little bit of trouble. And I must confess, the Liberal Party and the right-wing media, particularly on Sky News, the Liberal Party network, have decided to have a go at her in relation to this, and particularly have a go at Anthony Albanese, because they believe that Albanese should do what the Parliament, his side of the party, what his party would like, which would be traditionally to expel her. That would be fabulous. But of course, Albanese's had a good day yesterday with the release of Julian Assange, and they want to make sure that this episode around Fatima Payman is viewed in a negative way, so that it could undo any positive version of the release of Julian, and so that the Labor Party will look bad because of what Fatima Payman has done. So I'm just going to play for you some clips with regard to Peter Credlin. Cruella de Vil is the name I would prefer to use for her. So she has a discussion with Andrew Clennell around all of this, and as a result, they're rather critical of what stance that Anthony Albanese may take. Now, personally, I admire Fatima for being able to make a decision based on her ethics, her principles and her values. A novel approach for any politician, and Fatima has done this because, as a Muslim woman, she believes that Palestine is being destroyed, or Palestinians are certainly being destroyed through this genocide in Gaza. And she wants to make a stand, as we all should, against what's happening. An extension of that, obviously, is recognition of Palestine as a legitimate state, which is what we should be doing. So there'll be lots of people that would support Fatima in her approach to this, and I'd be interested to know what you think in relation to whether or not she's making the right sort of stand, and that she's making this stand regardless of what the consequences may be for her. So she's placing her ethics and her principles at the forefront of all of this. And that seems really important to me, and we should have more politicians should be doing the same. But the Liberal Party network are a little distressed, as you will see.
Andrew Clennell. Well, Andrew, we've had some late news out of the Parliament this afternoon. Labor Senator Fatima Payman, she's crossed the floor. Now, this is a big deal in the Labor Party. She's crossed the floor to vote with the Greens on an urgency motion to recognise Palestine. Here's a little of what she's had to say not long ago on this decision, and if she thinks she'll be expelled from Labor.
I was elected to serve the people of Western Australia and uphold the values instilled in me by my late father. Today, I have made a decision that would make him proud and make everyone proud who are on the side of humanity.
Senator, can we stay in the Labor Party?
That is the prerogative for my party. I believe that I have upheld the party ethos and called for what the party's platform has stipulated.
Now, mate, I understand you were at the press conference. Give us a sense of the reaction, whether or not Labor were blindsided by this move, and what you expect to happen next.
Well, I mean, it's quite the dilemma for Anthony Albanese and can be framed as a test of his leadership. I mean, this PM at the moment, even when he thinks he's having a good day, it turns into a bad day. He thought, I understand your views on Julian Assange, but for him that was a good news story. His efforts at diplomacy, releasing an Australian citizen who many Australians think has spent long enough rotting in jail. But now, this evening, just before your show, Fatima Payman has blindsided Labor and crossed the floor. Now, they feared she'd cross the floor on this Greens motion, the need for the Senate to recognise the state of Palestine. But let's put this in context, Peter. She said it's the first time this has happened in government with a Labor MP for 3 decades, and that's because we know the Liberals always cross the floor. They don't get thrown out of the party if they do so. It's in the Labor Party rules. You've got to be expelled from the party if you do so. That would mean one less number in the Senate if he did it. But it would also mean that he is punting a 29-year-old Muslim woman. And how do you reckon that would go in Western Sydney? So he has a heck of a dilemma here. He could suspend her. That's what Bob Hawke did to George Campbell and another senator back in 1986. But he's basically been done over by a 29-year-old Muslim West Australian woman here, the Prime Minister.
You'll also see that one question was asked of Albanese in relation to this by Peter Dutton in question time. And this is Albanese's response.
My question is to the Prime Minister. When the Prime Minister condemned the violent River to the Sea chant, Labor Senator Fatima Payman publicly rebuked him and repeated it. Yesterday, Senator Payman crossed the floor to support the Greens' hate-filled campaign to foment social divisions on Palestine, apparently without consequences. Prime Minister Bob Hawke, when he was leader of the Labor Party, suspended 2 members for such actions. Every leader since him has stood up and shown strength of leadership. Will the Prime Minister do the same?
The Prime Minister has the call.
I thank the Leader of the Opposition for his question. I note the regular tracks of members of the LNP to sit on the same side as the government at various times, and something that they say is a positive.
My left. The order. The Minister for Home Affairs will cease from objecting. The member for Barker is warned. Prime Minister is going to be heard in silence.
I make this point, Mr. Speaker. From the river to the sea refers to the Jordan River and the Mediterranean. The problem with from the river to the sea being one state, whether just Israel or just Palestine, is that it denies the existence of the other peoples and denies the need for a two-state solution, which is why I have consistently opposed it. I have consistently supported 2 states, Palestine and Israel, living side by side in peace and security, and that is the Australian Labor Party's position, and I'm proud of it. I have consistently opposed the actions, of course, from day one of what occurred with the terrorist act on October 7, which Hamas committed atrocities and need to be totally condemned. I have also expressed my grave concern at the humanitarian loss in Gaza, including our call for the ground invasion of Rafah to not occur because we warned of what the consequences of that would be. I regret the loss of all innocent life, whether it be Israeli or Palestinian. That is the principal position that I have taken, and that is why I have yesterday in the position that was put forward by Senator Wong in the Senate was a principal one. The need for the Senate to recognise the state of Palestine as a part of a peace process in support of a two-state solution and a just and enduring peace. It's beyond me why the Greens political party or the Liberal Party or the National Party did not support that position. But the truth is that they did not. The truth is that they did not. That is the appropriate position being put forward. I met with Senator Payman earlier today. She will not be attending the Labor caucus for the rest of this session.
The Leader of the Opposition... The Leader of the Opposition will cease interjecting. The member for Hasluck. Order. Ministers will cease interjecting. The Prime Minister is addressing the question directly. The Prime Minister is directly answering the question. He is mentioning the person you mentioned in your question. It is impossible to take a question on relevance. Resume your seat. Yes, and under the standing orders, that is not. Because I will refer to earlier decisions by Speaker Smith on exactly this issue regarding not taking points of order when the Speaker believes the Prime Minister or Minister is being directly relevant. Resume your seat. Resume your seat. Prime Minister has the call. Prime Minister has the call. Members on my right. Prime Minister has the call.
Thanks, Mr Speaker. What I do is show leadership for our united team. What he does is fail to provide any leadership, which is why the kiss of death is endorsement from this block.
So it appears that the decision Albanese has made is for the rest of this parliamentary sitting, Fatima would not be able to attend caucus meetings. Big deal. It's not a great punishment. It's more like a slap across the wrist, I guess. She's being told that they didn't appreciate what she did, but they haven't expelled her. The simple fact is that it would be disastrous if they expelled her. And even though it was raised by Peter Credlin that this would be a terrible thing for the Labor Party because of the number of seats that they need to hold within the Senate, the reality is if she got expelled, the Labor Party would have to appoint someone from the Labor Party. So I don't know what her argument is there, but there again, I can't figure out half the shit she talks about anyway. But I'll be interested to know what you think about all of this and whether you think Albanese did the right thing. Now, one of the issues that they do bring up is that he keeps displaying apparently as this weak leader. I personally think if he had to do anything, this is the best outcome for her. The better outcome would be to have ignored it in the first place. But the Labor Party the Liberal Party rather, wanted to use this as an opportunity to have a go at him and to convince the rest of us what a terrible person and a weak person Albanese is. I don't see him as weak at all, but I do see Dutton as weak, as I'd like to think of another word to describe him, certainly as a person who has very little to offer, and that at this particular point his nuclear stuff is really about just searching for something to discuss and something to make the next election about. But that's for discussion for another time. But I'd be interested to know what you think in relation to Fatima Payman and her decision to cross the floor, to vote with the Greens with regard to a resolution that the Greens had put forward, which they simply lost. But is it refreshing to find a politician who, regardless of where the party sits, has chosen to make the correct decision? Let me know in the comments below, and also remember to subscribe to my channel and ring the bell for further notifications. In the meantime, take care, look after yourselves, and more importantly, be safe.